Hi.
I guess a few months ago, after I'd been accepted at this retreat, I sort of realized that for all these years I had an agenda. Mm-hmm. You know, I was in these spiritual groups, working away. We were going to do it, you know, or whatever. Just a real deep agenda to get out of this, you know.
To get out of this?
To get out of...
What did that mean for you?
To get out of the suffering,
I see.
the sin, what you call, or the dukkha, or whatever. I really wanted out.
Yes.
And I thought, okay, well, if I do all these things, you know, because I was with groups that were promoting that idea, and
yes.
it was fine by me because somehow I really believed it deep down, you know. And then a few months ago, it really came crashing down. No way, it's not going to happen. You know, like it's just impossible. Like as much as I can do that, as I can keep my feet on the ground through gravity, like I just don't. Like it's not possible. Do you know? So that agenda was kind of out the door, and since then I've been sort of just like things could really easily fall apart. Do you know what I mean? Like I don't feel like doing anything. I don't feel like doing the work I'm doing. I don't feel like, you know, it's just like, it's almost like that sort of...
Oh yes, a big chunk of yourself fell apart, didn't it?
I think so.
Yes.
So now what? I mean, it's really confusing and it's kind of scary, you know?
Yes, it is.
Especially for someone like me who's really like, who's been very controlling and sort of, you know, like, you know, give me the to-do list, you know, I can do it, right? So someone like me, to have that is really destabilizing, and
yes,
it's very scary. And I sit on my deck, and it's not like I enjoy sitting on my deck at this point. I'm just sitting there, kind of like, you know, like a bit lost and not, you know, not happy about it, you know. Yeah. So I guess my question is, I mean, this is new to me, and I feel very stuck. In this.
I imagine
place.
You do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know what to do, basically.
Yeah.
At this point.
Okay. Stop doing.
Okay. That's very difficult.
Further.
I'm sorry. Consider
Further.
Further.
Keep going. And that doesn't mean go somewhere other than where you are. Mm-hmm. I can't really tell you what that means, but it just means keep going. You're entirely right. As long as we're trying to escape suffering, escape samsara, escape conditioning, escape maya, we're just more caught in it. The very effort to escape is suffering. The attempt to escape delusion is the highest form of delusion there is. Right?
Yeah, I know.
And then maybe if you're lucky, it all comes crashing down. And you realize that most of the suffering you're actually generating because you're trying to escape suffering. It's sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy. The more you try to get out, the more you're in. Paradoxically, the only way out is to be completely and absolutely trapped. As soon as you're completely and absolutely trapped, you're free. I told you this was backwards, and I told you it was paradoxical. Things don't work the way we're taught. We're taught if you feel trapped, try to get out. Spiritually, the more you try to get out, the more trapped you are. Whether you try to get out experientially, emotionally, intellectually, psychologically, however you try to get out of suffering, out of samsara, you're actually digging yourself in deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And the only way to be free of it is to be completely caught. And so you had spontaneously a moment where you were completely caught. As you said, it sort of all collapsed, right? Not because you decided, it's just sort of the attempt to escape ran its course. Mm-hmm. And so the attempt to escape just started to collapse. And as it collapses, what you don't know is that what's collapsing is your identity. That's what's collapsing. And that's not just an intellectual thing. Your identity is also your, what I call your personal will. Because our identity is wrapped around and defined by our personal will. Right? And there you are, and now you experience much, much, much less personal will, right? I want to do this. I want to do that. So you're kind of, right now, you're in a limbo zone. It's a limbo between the personal, me, and the personal will, but a lot of that, not all of it, but a lot of that has started to crumble away, and you're in this limbo zone where there's very little personal will operational. There's enough to complain about it, but not a lot more than that, and to be confused and maybe a little frightened and wondering how it's going to work out. But that's about it. On the other side of that, the limbo is not where you will ultimately stay. Okay? Don't worry about it. You're not going to stay in that limbo. The limbo zone isn't the ultimate destination. It's just a transitory phase. And the transitory phase is all about surrender. It's all about letting go and letting go and letting go into right where you are. Even if it's confusing, it's a little frightening, it's letting go even of more of that sort of, like I said, what I call personal will. It's an act of surrender. Because it's the act of surrender that brings the deeper, reveals the deeper level of consciousness, right? Where you are not moved by what can be called personal, but you're moved by the whole. You're moved by existence. You're moved by life. If you are religious, it's the experience of God moving through you and as you. And in order for that to happen, that thing called the personal will, what I want to happen, even if it's just I want to escape, that has to go. And it is going. And it will continue to go. And my hope is simply me sort of painting the picture of where you're at will help you at least not to be confused about it. It's a very common place to come to. And it's also common when people come to it inside, it's not a place they anticipated coming to, and it's a place that it tends to confuse them because you don't know where to go or what to do next. And the odd thing is you can't come up with that personal energy to do it. Follow me?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I'm just saying that's normal. It's like, yeah, you don't want to get stuck there forever, but that it's okay that you're there. It's just it's your identity falling away. And by further, I simply mean just allow it to continue to fall away. And then this other thing, what you really are, will come into consciousness, right? Because what you really are, you see, is connected with the whole of existence and beyond. And that becomes a whole new energy that then starts to move through you. Right? But it can't move, it's always moving through us, but it's tending to move through in this very distorted way, right? When it bumps into personal ambitions and all the conditioning, that energy comes through and then gets all distorted and gobbled up by the ego. But as that personal will kind of falls away, that energy will come in and it won't get all contorted by the egoic mind.
Thank you.
All right? Yeah. Okay. As I said, it's one of those things that, one doesn't necessarily anticipate. It may even sound romantic until it starts to happen to you. And your sort of personal will, or you could just think of it as personal drive. Your personal drive starts to dry up. And it can be very, very confusing because your personal drive is also mixed in with all of your spiritual drive. A lot of the spiritual drive is actually this very personal drive. And you don't know that until the bottom starts to fall out, you know. And you don't have to become disillusioned, but very often this real falling away happens when people meet a moment of real disillusionment. You're like, this isn't working. I can't do this. I've been at this for 2 decades and it's all come to naught. And this moment of disillusionment which people generally protect themselves from constantly. You know, about the time we're going to get disillusioned, we just sort of do a little sidestep and get interested in something else for a while. Right? But at some point, it may come upon you, and this disillusionment simply means that what I'm doing, me, my personal little me, isn't working. And it's disillusioning to realize that. And all the strategies that little me has aren't really working. All the things you really thought that it was doing that was really going to help you, you see, they're not. And it's almost like the egoic self kind of goes, oh no, this is the last place I wanted to end up. You see? It's sort of a forced surrender. Some of you know what I'm talking about. It's sort of a forced surrender. I call it fierce grace. You know, there's nice, soft, lovely, blissful grace, and there's fierce grace where the layers of falseness are sort of unceremoniously stripped away and thrown on the floor. And this is sort of a fierce grace. But it opens you to that state of innocence. Because that's all, you don't have to go through what I'm talking about. Some people don't. But it just returns you, it's about returning to a state of innocence, right? Of real openness, availability. It's harder for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than a rich man to get into heaven. That's what Jesus was communicating. How are you going to fit through the eye of a needle? How are all your ideas and beliefs going to fit through the eye of a needle? They not. When you go through the eye of the needle, it strips them all away from you. You had that happen? Yeah, some people have. And you feel it. When it happens to you, it's not theoretical anymore. You feel it. Whoosh. And all of a sudden, everything you identified yourself with starts to be it just gets removed. It's spontaneously, it starts to fall away. I thought I was this, and I was this, and I thought I was this, and this, and this, and this. And it all's just getting unceremoniously taken away. You know? And it's actually an act of great compassion. It's an act of great love for this to happen. Because it returns us to that state of really profound openness, or what the Buddhists may call emptiness. Or the Buddha called anatta, no self. The stripping away of self, of the appearance of self, revealing no self. You experience your own no-thingness. No self reveals the self.